Hey there, I'm Kevin Downey, and I run an agency called Kevin M. Downey, where we help companies with their recruiting and email marketing efforts. You can visit our website at kevinmdowney.com. Okay, today's topic, email marketing versus manual rep outreach, which delivers better ROI for B2B companies. So what I mean by this question is, because we get it a lot, is these days when it's become so difficult for your sales team, in particular account executives, account managers, to get a hold of prospects when they're doing cold outreach, companies are always looking for a better way to generate leads. And obviously there's a ton of companies out there that promise the moon in terms of lead generation and appointment setting. But the reality is that it's hard, right? It's a difficult thing. It's hard to get a hold of prospects. It's hard to gather intel sometimes even, although we have a great solution for that, a great methodology for that. But for the topic here, email as we set it up and define it, where you're talking about a dedicated server structure and text-based emails, one-to-one text-based emails designed to elicit a response. And we're looking at that as a lead generation medium, which once set up is going to cost you, let's just say fuzzy math, $1,000 a month to send 60,000 cold emails. Comparing that to a rep doing manual outreach, which is going to deliver better ROI? So it's an interesting question. At this point in 7 years, we've sent about 100 million emails for clients to date. And then, of course, we've recruited and trained a lot of reps over the years. And at the end of the day, email is going to win that game for lead generation in terms of ROI. Almost every time. Certainly reps in the United States at their salary requirements doing manualized outreach, and that can include manual email and LinkedIn, they are not going to deliver on ROI as good as, say, for example, dedicated business development reps in Latin America, where salaries are a lot less. So when we look at reps, especially in Central America and Dominican Republic, you're talking salaries in the 10 to 20,000 range a year. So 1,000 or so, $1,500, maybe pushing $2,000 a month. You compare them, they're almost the same cost, a little bit more than a dedicated server, right? To send 60,000 emails. What's going to win that game ROI wise, which is going to generate more leads? Usually going to be email, almost always in my experience, but the advantage to a rep is they can have a dynamic conversation, right? So they can generate that lead, but then they continue the conversation on that first call or second call, and they can move the needle that way, right? Whereas with email, we're just dealing with what is the equivalent of the front end of a cold outreach to generate a lead, right? We're finding decision maker and pain point enough to get them to respond. So in the grand scheme of things, they're pretty close when we compare Latin America and just email. But the reality is when it comes to just purely generating leads, email is never going to get beat. Email is going to win that game in B2B every single time. The only thing in terms of ROI that I have ever seen compete with email are trade shows, dedicated trade shows in certain industries. And that's because they're so laser focused in terms of audience. Trade shows can be phenomenal. But again, intermittent because they usually only happen one or a handful of times a year. So at the end of the day, email versus manual rep outreach, email is going to win most or all of the time, but reps do have an advantage. They can have that dynamic conversation and move the needle on that single call. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both, but email ultimately is going to win that game in terms of ROI most of the time. Okay, thanks for being here. If you need any help with reps or, of course, email marketing to generate leads for your B2B company, reach out to us, kevinmdowney.com. Thanks for being here today. Best of luck in business, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.